Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again for the video that you have all been waiting for. Yes, the first impressions for the anniversary unit, Hiyuki. And we've got a lot of great builds for you to take a look at. A lot of different weapons too, by that I actually mean too. But mainly on this topic, a bunch of different teammates to see just how viable this unit is across a bunch of different difficulty levels, including the TOA, Whimpering Wastes, and unfortunately we can't test it for now. No end state matrix because it's not available. The reset's already over. When it comes to Hiyuki, a couple of things that you have to keep in mind is that this character has some of the more strict stat requirements in the game. So we'll be taking some time to go through her build and of course talk about where some of her strengths come from and of course some of the weaknesses when it comes to her kit. So let's go ahead. Let's get right on into it. But before we begin, if you're looking to pick up Hiyuki or her weapon and are thinking about spending, you'd probably like to save some cash. That's where our sponsor for today, Enjoy GM, comes in. It's a top-up platform that offers some of the greatest discounts in the space, especially for WooWa, where you get up to 20% off on your purchases. And the process? It's incredibly simple. Just input your UID and server, no login information required, complete the purchase, and your Lunite or other goods will arrive in minutes. They've also got 24/7 customer support with plenty of global payment options, making it fast and convenient. Enjoy GM also has great reviews for WooWa top-ups, is PCI DSS certified for secure transactions, and has a great score on Trustpilot as well. I've used it myself. It's safe, legit, and saves you your hard-earned cash. New users can also get an 8% discount on top of that 20% too. If you're looking to stock up for these new banners, click the link in the description or the pinned comment and try out Enjoy GM today. First things first, when it comes to the build that we're going to be working with today, somebody has been grinding a lot. This isn't actually my account, so thank you a lot to the viewer who has let us, well, leverage this one. This build is missing a crit rate roll. But as you can see over here, it's making up for that missing crit rate roll with a bunch of amazing substats on this 4 cost over here, the new Aleph 1 Creation Echo. The 3 cost is looking absolutely devilish, 3 out of 5 with a huge ER. And then we got a 4 out of 5 over here with a huge amount of ER. And then we got, well, I don't even know how this guy rolled this. He must have sold his soul to Satan for this one. That's fucking crazy on day 1. And okay, all right. Now, this guy is a hacker. No, this guy is 1 million. That's 321% on the new set. Yeah, no, this is... It doesn't get much better than this, ladies and gentlemen. Holy moly. And as you're seeing over here, we've got a 6.3% as well as no crit rate roll. And we're still at 69.7. Hiyuki set gives her 25% crit rate. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at like the expanded thing, it gives 25% crit rate. So it's low key, depending on how high your crit rate rolls are, it can be optimal to miss a crit rate roll because otherwise, if I had rolled a 6.3% on this one, not me, the other guy, we would be overcapping right now. Think about it that way. So you can actually miss a crit rate roll on this character. As long as your other ones are decent, your build is not really going to suffer that much. Another thing to keep in mind when it comes to her build is that liberation damage rolls are going to be like the only one that are actually worth going for. And you want over 120% ER on this character. Otherwise, getting her second liberation can be really rough in a couple of teams. However, there are certain units that you might not actually think about pairing with Hiyuki that dramatically lessen her ER needs. We'll get into that when we go into team compositions later. When it comes to her build, you don't actually need to max out everything to have really good performance on her. You really only want her liberation, because of course, right, deals a shit ton of damage, especially with those additional multipliers. Her forte, because that's where all the yai damage comes from. And then of course, actually, her basic attack, because that's where her heavy attack comes from after she uses her yai attacks. Stuff like the intro skill and of course the resonance skill. You can see over here, bro, this thing doesn't really do that much damage. You do use it every single rotation, but as you can see over here, that's not really impressive at all, especially compared to the other stuff in her kit. So you can keep this at like a 6, 7, 8 out of 10 without really going too crazy with it. And with the weapon, naturally, we're going to have Frostburn over here, but we're also going to make sure to see what it looks like with an R2 Emerald of Genesis across probably her most popular teams. We're going to stick with her signature in the more budget ones, because I'm assuming if you're using your budget teams, that's because you spent a lot on this character. And so if you want budget teams and then also the budget signature, That's a lot to ask for, but maybe we'll try it once or twice. That's going to be what we're looking at over here in terms of the investment on this Hiyuki. Like I said before, this is an insane, disgusting day one build. You shouldn't expect something like that on your own, but this is a similar thing as well, right, ladies and gentlemen? This is what you should be striving for when it comes to your Hiyuki's build. So you can kind of treat this first impressions over here as like insight for how good your Hiyuki can be in the future. It wouldn't make sense for us to use a really bad day one build because that's not what it's gonna look like a couple of days from now. Let's get ourselves started in the TOA, and of course, see what some of her higher quality teams look like in this setting over here. So this stage over here is going to give a pretty meaty liberation buff. Unfortunately, it's really hard to test Hiyuki in the TOA without getting some absurd shilling. Actually, no, it is possible. We're not gonna go into the TOA. We're actually gonna go into the overdrive zone. And the reason for that is very simple. We'll be able to fight Crownless over here, and Crownless in this situation is only gonna have a Glacial resistance reduction. Right? Crownless over here is not going to have like some absurd, ridiculous liberation damage boost or Glacio damage boost or Glacio chafe damage boost that we're going to be seeing in all of the TOA's middle towers. 40% liberation buff, which is a lot for Hiyuki, on these two stages, and then this disgusting 30% more total Glacio damage and 100% more total Glacio chafe damage on floors 3 and 4. You can probably see why testing her in this environment isn't the best idea. So that's why we're going to be going to this Crownless stage over here for most of the fights. And hopefully you can understand that. So the first team that we're going to be testing out is, of course, going to be her best one. You want Lene on Rupture mode. And we'll check out the builds of the sub DPS units really quickly. Lene's going to be on her signature, have a nice packed Neon Light Leap. Stats look very, very, very good. This account has great builds. Second one over here is going to be Chisa on Kubo Kiri. And Chisa's actually going to be on Thread of Severed Fate. This is not actually the best Sonata set, but we're not going to bother like switching it around. You should actually be running Rejuvenating Glow on your Chisa if you want the highest possible Hiyuki performance. So that is something to keep in mind. Just so you all know, when it comes to like the sequence nodes that we're going to be using, all these characters are S0, R1 maximum. So don't worry about this being like giga unrelatable or like ridiculous absurd investment. Let's get this one started. Remember, you want your Chisa or you want your Lene on Toon Rupture mode, and just see what this team is capable of. So first things first, when you're running this team, wait for this dude to come down. Very annoying.
I am unraveling.
You're gonna do Chisa skill, then her follow-up attack.
Flicker into form.
Throw her echo skill in there. Then do her big chop. Then do her transformation. Boom. And when she does all of those attacks, she should have enough concerto when she leaps into the air for you to automatically just outro skill in the middle of the animation. Lene's rotation, as we all know, is like the easiest shit ever.
Too late to heed the summon.
Hiyuki's starting rotation is also giga easy. So you use your first ult after that heavy attack. Double skill. Oh dear.
It's been so long. Be gone.
You'll like double skill and then basic attack until you're full. Then you're gonna Yai attacks. I messed that up. So basically, Hiyuki has one kind of like issue with her kit. And I just showed you it over here. If you get interrupted, you kind of lose an outro skill buff. What happened over there was that I double skilled, right? And then I was trying to do her 5-hit basic attack chain afterwards. And the issue is that during her basic attack chain, it's really easy to get interrupted by an enemy attack. And then your rotation is kind of just like bricked from there. And that's where like fitting in all of her stuff in the duration of a Lene outro skill is going to be really difficult for a lot of players. This unit is not like some cakewalk, mindless, brainless shit like Amith. There's a lot of room to actually mess up when it comes to getting her stuff going. And you kind of like seen it right there what I'm talking about.
This ends here. Cutting through the numbers.
I know I missed Chisa's echo skill there, but it doesn't really like do anything in this team. So we're against Crownless anyway, so just pretend I used it. It's not like it really matters.
All
right, so once again, do that heavy attack after the intro attack. We'll try to weave in a Tomb Break over here. Maybe it'll, like, help out with the combo. But as you can see, right, Hiyuki can have a lot of issues because you just see that the outro skill fell off. The damage is there, though. So once again, we'll kind of, like, get it going and, of course, weave in some dodges this time just so I can show you that this unit isn't, like, a face roll type of character.
Dismantle. Come. Meet your end. Click. Down to the tether snap. Flicker into form. Structural collapse. Break apart. Special delivery.
You also want to make sure, guys, when it comes to a character like this, where you do got to get a little bit sweaty with it, you don't have too much buyer's remorse. Yeah, I will say Crowless is kind of like canceling the shit out of us.
Too late to escape. Take your final dive into Naraga.
You can try weaving in like some like air attacks into here. But this is what it looks like when you yai too early. You want to make sure that your Frostburn meter or that your Frostheart meter over here, right, is fully filled before you start doing your yai attacks. Otherwise, you'll only be able to do 2 of them, and then you won't be able to use her enhanced heavy. Are you guys slowly beginning to see how tricky this unit can be overall to play? Remember, what we're trying to showcase over here is how you can do all of these attacks within the duration of Linnea's outro, because that is giving a lot of liberation damage boost for Hiyuki's main damage type. Does she stun the enemy like Carlotta? Oddly enough, not really until she's in her yai stance. And the hardest part and the most annoying part of her kit to activate is before the yai stance.
Flicker into form. Nothing less.
So yeah, the unit does have, especially against this guy,
This ends here.
a lot of potential complications.
Connection severed. Don't blink. You'll miss the
All right.
best part.
So high skill and investment needed to a degree. Yeah, that's a fair analysis to have.
Meet the sun. Let that
Here we go.
snow. Drift with snowflakes. Brittle sun, fading gloom, evanescent morning dew. Vanish.
And this is what it looks like when you do everything in the duration of a Linnea outro skill.
This vessel I offer.
Very, very, very strong, right?
A pivotal.
That's what it looks like in the duration of one Linnea outro skill. But like I said before, right? That's not going to be something that you're going to be able to pick up right away. It's going to take a little bit of work on your end, right? A little bit of learning her rotations, learning her timings, and then getting the yai forward transition correct.
Too late to meet the sun.
And of course, we're really not going to need too much on this second rotation. The guy's already dead. That's just because this team does a lot of damage. That's the main sort of focus over here. This team does a metric fuck ton of damage, but it's very actually similar to Sigrika, if I were to give a sort of alternative for how it works. And do keep in mind that the second rotation in that team is actually going to deal a noticeable amount less damage than the first one that we did. And the reason for that is simple. Hiyuki's Liberation deals additional damage for each Snowforge stack that you consume. But the thing is that Hiyuki only gets one additional one on her first rotation. And you only generate one per rotation. The end result is that if you consume both of your stacks immediately, your second rotation ends up dealing less overall damage. You can also stack up to 3 of these Snowforge blades, but that's pretty much never going to happen in most circumstances, unless you like decide not to use one at all on your first rotation. So, yeah, that's kind of like the difference. Most people will probably do like 2 stacks per rotation and kind of like move at it from there. But that's definitely something that you could decide to do if you'd like. Next scene that we're going to be showing you is unironically actually going to be easier to play than the Chisa one. And the reason for that is simple. It's going to involve Mornier, and Mornier actually gives you some interruption resistance. And like I mentioned before, Hiyuki gets interrupted a little bit easily.
Energy
So having that
consumption
bonus can actually be
All targets in sight.
pretty good.
All units firing. Processing complete. Initiating criticality protocol.
So let's go ahead.
Structural override initiated.
Showcase what this one looks like. Remember, your Lene is still on rupture mode during this time.
Sure. Heat the sun.
Let there be snow.
Swirl.
Notice how we're just muscling through those attacks.
Brittle snow. Fading blue. Follow my moves if you can.
Mornier actually makes this team way easier to play. But of course, that comes at the cost of some damage. You're probably not noticing it here. The damage is very similar to using a Chisa.
Access confirmed.
And what Mornier's field allows you to do, ladies and gentlemen, her synthesization field that she's making over here. Guess what, guys?
Override initiated.
We don't need to dodge anymore. We can just ignore Crownless's attacks and just get off Hiyuki's combo.
You can trust me. Too late to escape.
You can probably see the benefit of that, right?
As the first snow.
You can probably see the benefit of doing something like that. Because what was the issue that we had before that other team? Hiyuki's getting interrupted after her double skill while she's in the middle of doing that whole basic attack chain. You all saw that situation, right? However, this is something that we also got to think about, ladies and gentlemen. This team over here, it's good. It'll make your Hiyuki pop off. You will fuck everything up with that Mornier Lene team. But this is kind of the reality over here. Mornier and Lene still have better teammates. And with Chisa being Hiyuki's overall best in slot support, you probably want to be building a team around her instead. The team is definitely harder to play. Mornier's a wheelchair composition leader not in just like damage and rupture stats alone. She's a wheelchair because of that interruption resistance. And it's very useful for Hiyuki. But the reality is, right, you kind of typically do want to be slotting in an Imeth in here instead. But if your Imeth is instead using Chisa and is using Denya in the third slot, then, well, it's just as easy for you to put Chisa, Denya, and Imeth and then use Mornier and Lene for Hiyuki. You have that flexibility as well. And that's something that you can actually do, which is, like, cool. So really, having, like, Mornier, Lene, Chisa, all of that jazz, it's going to open up your Hiyuki team compositions a lot more. Now, we got to do some additional testing over here, because some people are going to be asking the question, well, say, what about the Giga free-to-play team, right? What if I just go ahead, I put Static Mist on my Lene, and then I put EoG on my Hiyuki? What does the performance look like over here? Because we don't have to change the builds at all. Now Hiyuki has 196 ER. Oh, that's fucking crazy. Do recall, guys, if you're looking at the clear times between these two teams, Chisa's full advantage isn't being leveraged over here because she's on a DPS build. She's on a DPS build, right? And, well, what element is crownless? Or what attribute is crownless? One of the big benefits of Chisa's build right now, right, being on her signature set and her signature weapon, it's negated by this being a Havoc-resistant boss. So don't read into the actual damage of this too much. It's not going to tell you the whole story.
A life as fleeting as
So yeah, this is R2 EoG.
Brittle snow, fading blue, evanescent morning dew, vanish. May the sacrifice
And as you can see over here, right,
burn this self away.
not too much worse.
Flicker into 4. Come.
Right? Not too much worse than having your SIG. Hiyuki is, oddly enough, not really as signature reliant as you might think. Assuming you have the team, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's kind of like fair to actually say you might not need her signature as long as you have the team. This is very similar to like an Ameth situation, as you're seeing over here from the overall performance.
You should have run. Heed the song. Take your final dive.
Right?
Into
Chisa's the only one with her SIG here.
rest now. All in my wake. Fading blue.
And while we're not able to fully use the second rotation, that was the same for all the other teams. And they definitely killed a lot faster. But this is the situation. Hiyuki, without her signature, as long as she has her teammates, is very, very, very good with these existing teams in the game. And one of the reasons for that is because she's using Lene. But this is one of the realities that you're going to have to face as a potential Hiyuki owner. She still has this Snow Rust mechanic. And right now, with Chisa on the team, she's only able to access this second stack. Guess what the third stack does? More Glacial Bite damage. So essentially, if you're trying to get the full team, Hiyuki's signature ends up being really, really, really useful for that full team. Because what does it do? It amplifies Glacial Chafe damage as well by an additional 20%. On top of, right, all of those other Snow Rust things that are going on. And so, Lene is not Hiyuki's best in slot sub DPS. But Lene really does easily get the job done, and Lene is on her best teams currently. That's not going to be the case in the future. And so kind of like the end result is that if you're looking to build Hiyuki's third Snow Rust stack, best in slot possible team, so on and so forth, you probably want to get her SIG, and you also definitely need to build and get Chisa too. But if you plan on just using her with Mornier and Lene, you don't really plan on getting the Glacial Chafe sub DPS. You're just looking for a Glacial unit right now because you don't have Carlotta, and you plan on using your old characters to get the job done. Then yeah, you could just get it all done on EoG. It's not really going to matter too much. Now, the next thing that we're going to be doing is, of course, still on Static Miss and all of that, seeing what the performance looks like with Mornier. Against good old Crownless once again. And Lene and Hiyuki will not have their SIGs.
Order execute. Authorizing maximum output.
ER, I just said 125
Structural overriding.
on your Chisa.
Tie a bow and call that my signature. That's all you got? Huh? One more. Okay, where's the fire?
You should have run. Take your final dive into Naraka. Fading blue. You prepared for this, have you not?
Here we go. And so this is, again, the Toon Rupture team. And you can see that the damage,
Assuming master control.
pretty goddamn similar.
Guidance ready. Attack can
It's still going to get the job done. It's still going to be amazing. Hiyuki signature, right?
override initiative.
Not really changing a whole bunch here. I think most people can see that. I think most people can see that.
You can trust me. Too late to escape. Heed the sun. A life as fleeting as the first snow. Brittle snow, fading blue.
And you can see we basically kill it at around the same exact time. But do keep in mind, guys, if we're killing it at the same time, the Chisa team at a baseline is still going to be better. The Chisa team at a baseline is still going to be better for one simple reason. We're going into Havoc resistance over here with Crownless. Great overall performance on EoG. Now we're just going to go back to Frostbird for the rest of the test. Hopefully you can understand why. The teams are doing very, very, very well. Now, though, you might be thinking, okay, all right, Shirley Saint, you haven't been using one character that you know you're supposed to use. And the reason why I don't really want to use Shorekeeper is because, well, what did we just talk about, ladies and gentlemen? You're seeing 94.7% crit rate here. If you have Shorekeeper on the team, you're going to be overcapping on crit rate. And if your Shorekeeper is not providing crit rate, her use cases, right, are really not as... she's not nearly as useful as she could be. Because this is one of the big reasons to pull this character, is her ability to provide crit. And she's not doing that, right? It's kind of just like, all right, what are we doing here?
Astral Modulation. Loading. Drive safe.
It's one of the main reasons why you get her and put her on the team. And if that's not happening,
That's all you got. Woo! Need a ride, sweetheart?
Keep this on. You should have run.
that's a little bit
Take your
rough.
Final dive into Naraka. Fading blue. Follow my moves if you can.
And this is probably gonna be the lowest of all the damage.
Gazing at the snow.
Ordained. Worry not. You're diminished.
Wait, is this Shorekeeper S2? We'll need to check after this, because, yeah, I was, like, wondering, why did that do, like, 450k when all the other ones haven't done that much?
Go, shake it up.
This might be an S2 Shorekeeper. We'll have to see. But think about it this way. If this is actually an S2 Shorekeeper, then that's showing that an S2 Shorekeeper is getting similar results to, like, Mornier and stuff like that.
Worry not for me.
Oh, that's so annoying.
Fading blue.
Yeah, basically the same exact timing, right? Let's see how many sequence zones this Shorekeeper has, actually. Time for the big reveal. Y'all ready for this?
I am here
Oh.
to serve your will.
That was S0? Did the 25% crit damage buff do that much? Why did she do so much more damage on that one? Yeah, because all the other ones were doing like 380. Oh, we were on SIG. That's why. Oh, think about it this way. Shorekeeper with Hiyuki on SIG was equal to Mornier or Chisa with Hiyuki on EoG. Right. Sorry. That's what it was, ladies and gentlemen. Hiyuki went back to her signature. So, Shorekeeper and Hiyuki on SIG is equal to Mornier or Chisa with Hiyuki on EoG. Okay, chat's retarded. Hiyuki is on her signature. She was not on her signature in the Mornier and Hiyuki teams or in the Mornier and Chisa teams we just did. So, with Hiyuki on her SIG and Shorekeeper, that's equal to a Mornier or a Chisa with Hiyuki on EoG. Chat, it's not that hard to follow. Are you guys boosted? Now we'll show you one of the worst possible teams over here. Now we'll put her on EoG and then you'll see some cringe. I definitely lost a lot of faith in the intelligence over here after that one. That's a bit of an embarrassing move, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just gonna be real with you.
In war with time.
Like that was not really hard to follow either.
Tie a bow and call that
I think you need to use a whiteboard.
signature.
Maybe.
Got one more.
You can trust me. Keep this on. A life as fleeting as the first snow. Worry not for me. Be gone. Brittle snow, fading blue. Follow my moves if you can.
Is it clear now, chat?
All wishes spoken. This vessel I offer.
Is it clear now, chat? Are we good? You just saw that do 370.
I engraft
The least out of all of the teams that we had.
drive safe.
We're probably gonna make it to the second ult cast too of this team.
Go, shake it up. Hey, where's the fire?
You should have run. Keep this up. Let there be snow. Down you go. Brittle snow, fading blue. Raining moon.
Bro, that's ridiculous. Anyways, yeah, we make it to the second ult cast of this team.
Sakura incinerate. Burn this self away.
No other team made it there. No other team made it to the second ult cast. And so, yeah, Shorekeeper, Lene, and then also, like, Hiyuki it's not... It'll still clear, but you definitely want to have, like, a Hiyuki SIG or something like that for it to feel a lot more reliable. And yeah, basically, you're going to feel like you're a step below the other teams. I would go for the SIG instead of spending 160 pulls on Chisa. So this is kind of like the issue with this argumentation over here. Chisa and Hiyuki with SIG is the best. So you're like over here talking about being second place. And if your goal is to get the best Hiyuki team, then you want Chisa. If your goal is for your Hiyuki to not be, to like just clear, well then you don't need any of this shit. So it doesn't like matter. So it's kind of like, I don't really understand like the, you can like cope as much as you want. Just know that. Now, we'll do like one last little thing over here, and that is basically this situation. Chances are you might be doing something like this in the TOA, running a team composition like this. And if this is the situation, your Lene is busy. And so you might be wondering, okay, who can I run with the Chisa to make my Hiyuki still good? And my #1 recommendation will probably be, I know this is going to sound really fucking weird. Wait, this guy doesn't even have Jeja on his account. It was going to be Jeja. And the reason for me saying Jeja is very, very, very simple. With the Jeja on your account, you can actually have a lower ER generation on your Shorekeeper. But I might as well just show you some funky shit you can do instead. Because John-Shin, as long as you have a relatively high level Marcado, I'm going to R5 your Marcado. And who knows, maybe this team will be decent. It's going to be dog shit. Chances are you also have like a John-Shin with at least like a sequence node or two. That's going to let you do some extra stuff as well. Let's see how many sequence nodes you have. All right, S1. Ooh. I'm surprised you don't have her S2 at least. I'm going to level this up a little bit to get like some bonus ER. And this will be like the Giga free-to-play example that we'll have ready for you. Mortifi Moonlight? Perfect. Yeah. She is looking a little bit fragile, but I think it should be fine. This is a team composition you might want to run just in case your Lene is busy. And we will be leveraging some tactics for this one.
Dead center locked. Good. Down to the micron. A pivotal moment. Flicker into form. Dismantle. Exile. Connection severed. Gone. Universe in my psyche. Like this.
Not bad, right?
Heed this and take your final dive.
Hey, remember, it's a level 1 sub DPS.
Fading blue. You've prepared for this, have you not? May the Sakura incinerate. Burn this self away.
And remember, this is on EoG.
Flicker into form. Come. Meet your end. Structural collapse. Cutting through the numbers. All
Okay, this is really awkward. Yeah, sometimes your second rotation on this character is some doo-doo water.
You can trust me. Keep this on. Too late to escape. Let them.
And this is on EoG too, remember that. So you can definitely get some better overall performance by, yeah, not... Oh, gosh.
Raining moon, evanescent morning dew. Vanish.
You know, we actually somehow did all of that in John-Shin's outro skill.
This vessel I offer.
Nothingness.
And when you realize what we're, like, working with right now, I'm pleasantly surprised that this is somewhat working. I'm pleasantly surprised, I'm gonna be honest. I expected it to be way worse.
You should have run. A life as
It's not bad.
the first snow. Dissipate.
Took 3 rotations, but remember, this is what we're working with over here in that team composition. And that is a level 1 character in the sub DPS slot. So it's workable, especially if your Lene is going to be doing other work elsewhere, but you probably just want the Glacio Chafe sub DPS at that point too to really simplify your life. That's what Hiyuki's going to be looking like in the single target content. And like I mentioned before, she has a bit of an issue with dodging at good times, because what happens when you dodge in the middle of her attack animations? You enter her Yai stance, and you don't want to do that too early. So it really does require a bit of finesse to make sure that you're not actively griefing her rotations. Now we got to go to the next well, the real fun part over here. Wait, did you not do your Whimpering Wastes yet? Oh my god. Anyways, I guess we'll just show floor 11. It's not like it's not like 411 is that much crazier. I do it when there's no content, so why didn't you do it in 3.2 second half, bro? Do it for him. That's not happening. Basically, the difference between floor 11 and Infinite Torrents is that Infinite Torrents just lasts for a set amount of time. So basically, us just doing like a single run over here isn't going to be that much different from just doing a test run at Infinite Torrents. So, yeah, why don't we just go ahead, show what the best in slot team is doing over here. And of course, well, you got this token as well. So let's just see what it looks like when it's shilled real fast. And then, of course, we'll see what it looks like on maybe this negative status token over here. Yeah, we'll try it on both sides. And we'll see how bad the Concerto side feels for Hiyuki.
Flicker into form.
Heed the sun. Your days are numbered.
Drive safe.
You can trust me. Let there be snow.
Holy shit. Wait, we got all of our ER back somehow. As you can see over here, probably don't need to use all three of those, but
Gazing at the snow.
oh, that's enough to like kill multiple waves.
Blink. Flicker into form. Threats converge. This ends here. The cut's not deep. Cutting through the numbers. Nothingness. Deconstructed.
Yeah, the timer stops when she does the stance as well. Oh, dearie me.
Tie a bow.
She's a good Whimpering Wastes character. The thing is, just make sure that your Yai stance attacks, we'll show you them in a second, are lined up well. Otherwise, you could be in a bit of a situation.
You should have run. Heed the sun. Take your final dive.
Right over here, these attacks right here. This groups, right?
Rest now. Feeding blue. Raining moon.
You want to make sure that those are lined up good, and you probably want to be like vertical with the enemy so that you don't end up in this situation over here, right?
For all wishes spoken.
The character's kit,
Vessel,
you can just tell, right? It's almost like designed for this game mode.
Flicker into form.
I would dare say it's like a better Weewa kit
Structural collapse.
than a, what's it called? Than a TOA one. That's honestly what it feels like. Why does Pridewood put her on tier 1 for Weewa? Because tier 1's good. Yeah, I said she was good. I said she was like a strong Weewa character, not the best one. Yeah, tier 1 in Weewa is really good. You know that, right? So that's what the team looks like over there on side 1. Now let's go ahead and pop out a negative status one instead. And as you guys probably saw from like the damage they were taking, right? This floor is not really that much different from Infinite Torrents. It just has a set number of waves.
Flicker into form.
You can trust me. You should have run.
Lifeline. Block. Pick it up.
Let there be snow. All in my wake.
Her AoE is also like insane on a couple of her attacks.
Brittle snow. Fading blue. Evanescent morning dew. Vanish.
So the reality is, maybe you just want to do like one slash over here. Because of course, right? Otherwise, I would have overkilled the shit out of those guys.
Flicker into form. Shake it up. Don't blink. You'll miss the best part. Nothingness. Deconstructed. Cutting through the numbers. Check this out.
Oh, that is so painful.
I call the shots.
Too late to escape. Heed the sun.
That is painful right there.
As the first snow. Dissipate. Pretty soon. Fading blue. Waning moon. You've prepared for this, have you not?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Above the inferno.
This is like one of those situations where... Okay, all right. She's got multi-hit attacks. That is why Hiyuki is, in my opinion, going to be a solid Weewa character. Her first hit of her liberation can clear a wave, and then the second hit, which does all the damage, and then immediately, right, damage the second one. Sagrika is a character with a similar sort of mechanic, and that's what makes her so good. Pridwin has her tier 1. Pridwin is also able to readjust their ratings for units massively within the first week. They also put Luke in tier 1, too.
You can trust me.
Infinite Torrents is way tankier than 11? No, it's not. Pridwin says she's on the watch list and might go up. I think that's pretty obvious. When it comes to Weewa, she's definitely a high tier character that I think if she's at tier 1, she's probably underrated for now until people figure out some more optimal rotations for her. I would say she's probably a tier 0.5 in Weewa easily after like people get some time to figure out when to like use her damage windows properly. Is she better than Augusta? I think she is. So overall, I would say as like a unit when it comes to your account, Hiyuki is a very, very, very strong pull. Hiyuki is a very, very, very consistent pull. But the thing is that her gameplay does have a lot of hoops to jump through, especially when it comes to some of like her unique dodge mechanics and things like that, to ensure that you're not like griefing your rotation, you're getting stuff out properly in like outro windows, so on and so forth. However, that's only when you're using her with Lene. And one thing that we've seen from negative status sub DPSs, right, is that these negative status characters don't typically tend to have outro skills that expire on swap, and you're allowed to kind of have longer rotations, mess up a couple of times or do other stuff, and simply just deal more negative status damage, and it's not that much of a deal. We all know how it's like with Phoebe, right, where it's just 30 seconds long, or it's just Chakotay, right, and it's just, well, 30 seconds long. I wouldn't be surprised if Hiyuki's Glacio Chafe sub DPS, when they do come out, has just like a similar sort of outro skill, right, where it's like 30 seconds long. So if that's the case, then definitely, right, you're going to have a lot more freedom for the rotations. How is she in quick swap teams? There are no teams that she quick swaps in right now. Yeah, her quick swap teams are dog shit at the moment, and she doesn't actually have a lot of quick swappable windows that make a lot of sense, because a lot of her things expire on swap. And basically the only thing that's worth quick swapping at the moment is like her initial 300 dedication, which is not really like a thing. So, you can try to quick swap her with things like Chang Li, but you're kind of just like griefing at that point because it's just not really a great team. It's just really not that great of a team. You should try Hiyuki Carlotta dual DPS. That team sucks dick. That team is fucking trash. It's legitimately awful. It's possibly one of the worst teams in the game. That's why we didn't try that one at all. And the reason for it is because Carlotta's getting no boosts at all. She's just taking up field time. Nobody's getting any amplification bonuses at all. Hiyuki gets no buffs from Carlotta. Hiyuki Yinlin. Remember the situation that I talked about before, where if your teammates are a little bit occupied, you can decide to do this, like your Lene. You can also substitute in a Yinlin, and you can also substitute in a Jeja, and they will both sort of get the job done as well. They will both sort of get the job done as well, and you can sort of make it work. Do keep in mind, though, that they're all going to be strictly worse. But Jeja with her ER boost is something that can happen, too. All right, now let's get into, like, the actual summary over here when it comes to her value. Hiyuki is a character that's going to be strong in single-target content. Not as strong, though, at least in my opinion, in AoE content. The reason for that is that, like I said before, Hiyuki has a lot of room for interruption in her kit. And if you get interrupted, her combo is, like, basically dead. And, like, you're going to run out of outro buffs, all of that. It's going to be a bit of an issue. However, her S1 solves that problem because you gain like interruption immunity on the hits that you typically would get interrupted by. So her S1 just straight up makes her like a face roll unit that's giga easy to play. Her S2 on the other hand makes her deal like a shit ton more damage. Her S3 also makes her deal a fuck ton more damage, and that's basically the sequence nodes as you go up. Her S1 is easily like the most quality of life one that we have in like the history of the game because A lot of the S1s that we have are very, very, very quality of life oriented, not really damage ones. And this one just makes Hiyuki a straight up face roll character. However, Mornier's interruption resistance basically does the job of Hiyuki's S1 when it comes to making her easier to play. So that's something that you can just decide to go for as well. You won't have a lot of issues with it, but do recall your Amenth might get a little bit lonely then. Hiyuki, in my opinion, is a unit that you should go for if you plan on pulling Chisa, and if you plan on really building out more of the Glacio Chafe archetype. And if you aren't, you can still go for her, but you're going to be wondering why you went for her if she's just going to take the teammates of your other units that you have on the account. And if that's what's going on, maybe not the best idea to pull her unless you're going to go for like her full Glacio Chafe team. And that's kind of like how I view her use cases at the moment. It's probably better to go for a Glacio or like a Toon Rupture Amenth team and then build the Glacio Chafe with Chisa Hiyuki team, and then maybe not even go for like the Denya Amenth Fusion Burst team, but it would just be very easy to make that team, right? All you need to do is pull Denya. It's kind of like an ecosystem that you have over here between Mornier, Lene, Chisa, and like Denya. You end up being able to split the use cases of these two DPSs over here at the very least in a lot of different directions. It's kind of like odd how much these two end up working together when it comes to like roster planning. But for like everybody else, not a lot of stuff going on over here, and Hiyuki does not really reuse any of anybody else's previous teammates other than like a little bit of Jeja and then a little bit of Yinlin. And if that's where you want to go with it, go for it. Otherwise, yeah, I'd maybe hesitate a little bit about fully investing into her. But this is another question that we have to answer. Is she better than Zani? Is she better than Kardathea? Yes. She's much better than them in terms of usability, team comps, and what's available on release. Those two characters, Zani and Kardathea, they've got like no flexibility at all when it comes to how they work and when it comes to how they function. If you don't have Chakota for your Kardathea, what, like, it's not good. If you don't have Phoebe for your Zani, it's not good. If you don't have Chisa for your Hiyuki, well, great. Mornier and Lene works just fine and you clear all the content of the game. That, at a baseline, is going to make her way more valuable than units like Kardathea and, of course, units like Zani just at a baseline. And that's something that should be recognized because when it comes to negative statuses, right, they have a bit of a poor reputation. Hiyuki does a lot to recover from that. So I just wanted to make that known. And if you have your teammates, bro, you don't even need to get close to her signature for her to function well. She does very good with EoG, perfectly maintains uptime on the cast over here. I think everybody can see she's a lot more inherently free-to-play friendly. And just from that baseline, right, as long as you're willing to pull her teammates, she's always going to be worth a pull. That'll be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.